Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're plunging back into history today, pulling out a story that really sticks with you.
It certainly does.
Today, we're taking a special look, a follow-up really, for those of you familiar with the L6 source analysis, the Boxers of Whitechapel assignment.
Ah, yes. A fascinating assignment, digging into those primary sources.
Exactly. And for everyone listening, we're diving back into the truly enigmatic life and frankly baffling disappearance of Hezekiah Moscow.
That's right. Our mission today really is to go beyond those initial facts you might have uncovered. We want to delve into the big unanswered questions around this colored champion of late Victorian London.
Because when we talk about him vanishing, it's more than just a historical whodunit, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It pushes the limits of historical evidence. This deep dive is all about, tracing those footprints when the trail just goes cold.
Okay, so let's quickly recap his story for everyone. It really sets the scene for the mystery. Hezekiah Moscow.
Also known, widely known really, by his nicknames Chinguk or Chinghook.
Right. And he was a West Indian immigrant making his home and his name in Whitechapel, that bustling, often quite chaotic world.
And what's truly remarkable, I think, isn't just the sheer variety in his life.
You mean moving from lion tamer to boxer?
Exactly. Lion tamer, boxer, music hall performer. But it's also what that fluidity tells us about life back then.
How precarious it could be.
Precarious, yes, but also how adaptable people had to be, especially working-class immigrants in London at that time.
Yeah.
Early accounts showed him starting out as a lion tamer.
A lion tamer at the East London Aquarium, wasn't it? Penny admission?
That's the one. He even faced animal cruelty charges there in 1884. Ill-treating bears with a whip, apparently.
Seriously, what happened with that?
Well, the proprietor defended him quite vigorously, actually. Said the whip couldn't hurt a bear. The case was eventually dismissed. A technicality.
Wow, quite the start. And then the nickname, Chinguk, where did that come from? Was it common?
Definitely hints at something more personal.
Oh.
Accounts suggest it was given to him around 1882 in a Whitechapel pub.
And it was likely not complimentary.
Almost certainly a racist slur, yes. Though, interestingly, the term wasn't commonly used like that in the 1880s. There's even some historical speculation, about his background.
Mixed race, maybe? Chinese and Jamaican?
Possibly, given the history of Chinese workers in Jamaica. But whatever the origin, the name stuck. He became known by it.
And he built connections in the boxing world?
Very significant ones. He was a close friend and pupil of Alexander Monroe.
Another Jamaican boxer, the one who was tragically murdered.
Stabbed to death in a Whitechapel lodging house in 1885, yes. Hezekiah was deeply affected. Records show he helped arrange Monroe's funeral, a big public event. Monroe had apparently made him a boxer.
So he clearly rose in prominence after that. We've seen those photos, him as the boxer, but also in quite smart private clothes. He was recognized.
Oh, absolutely. He wasn't just in the ring, though. He was a real entrepreneur of the fight game.
Managed boxing saloons, I read?
Managed saloons, taught boxing in places like Nottingham, Watford. He even branched out into music hall performing.
Singing. Comedy.
Both. And sometimes these theatrical black v white matches, painted gloves, the whole thing, pure performance.
And he had a personal life developing, too.
Yes, he married Mary Ann Madden, an Irish woman, in Whitechapel in 1890. And their daughter, Eliza Margaret Moscow, was born on June 18th, 1891.
And the 1891 census puts them right there, in Whitechapel.
Right in the heart of it. 2 rooms at 36 Elder Street, perfectly reflecting that dense, working-class, very diverse community we studied in the assignment.
But then, just as things seem to be looking up career, his public life just stops abruptly.
It does. It's incredibly jarring.
This is where it gets really baffling, isn't it?
Absolutely. The last time his wife, Marian saw Hezekiah Moscow was March 30th, 1892.
And just a week later, he misses a professional engagement.
A significant one. April 7th, 1892. He was scheduled for a sparring appearance at a big retirement benefit for Tom McLagan, an entertainment legend. He and his opponent were a no-show. And what's really odd is they weren't even mentioned in the press coverage afterwards, which was extensive. For someone like him, it's strange.
Very strange. And his wife, Marion, she must have been frantic. A young baby. No idea where her husband is.
Her desperation just jumps off the page, doesn't it? Nearly 4 months later, July 1892, she puts that public appeal in the Sporting Life.
The newspaper, right? What did it say?
It's heartbreaking, really. She writes she's convinced he must have met with harm. She explicitly says she can't believe he'd just desert her and their baby daughter.
And she mentions money troubles.
Dire financial need. earning only 7 shillings per week. I mean, try supporting yourself and an infant on that. Barely survival level. The fact she had to make that public appeal, it speaks volumes.
And she had to move house, too.
Yes, the records show she moved from 36 Elder Street to 27 Gun Street, a poorer area. It really suggests an immediate sharp decline in her situation right after he vanished.
So the unavoidable question, the one historians are still wrestling with, what happened? Where did he go?
Exactly. His vanishing act leaves this huge void. And looking at the records, the research, basically 3 main theories emerge.
Okay, let's unpack those. What's the first one?
The first is, well, the grimmest possibility. Murder, maybe an accidental death, or even suicide.
Okay, but if that happened, surely there'd be a record somewhere.
You'd think so, but there are no hospital records, no death certificates, no burial records, not under Hezekiah Moscow, not under Ching Cook, none of his known name.
But I thought his name appeared on his daughter's school form later.
It did in 1895. Eliza's school enrollment lists him as the parent, but that doesn't actually confirm he was alive then. Marion might have just put his name down, maybe still hoping.
Or avoiding saying she was deserted. I see she's listed as a widow in the 1901 census.
Exactly. That could have been a way to avoid the stigma of desertion, which was considerable back then.
Given what happened to his friend Alexander Monroe, the violent death, it makes you wonder if Hezekiah met a similar end.
It's a natural thought. But the counter-argument from historians is why? He seems to have been popular, well-liked. Why would someone kill him, especially without any public fuss or investigation following?
Could a body just disappear in London back then? The Thames, maybe?
It's possible. There are records of unidentified bodies pulled from the Thames around that time, spring-summer 1892. But the sources point out his skin color would likely have been noted if the body was identifiable as black.
But could a body become unidentifiable?
Well, an expert opinion cited suggests that after just a week or so in the water, features and even skin color can become very difficult to determine, so it's not impossible.
And there were hints of personal struggles, drinking, health issues.
Yes, reports mentioned he enjoyed drinking, and he had past hospital stays for some unknown condition and abscesses. So an accident, perhaps linked to that, isn't out of the question.
But overall, this theory seems unlikely.
It does, mainly due to the complete lack of evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels improbable his death would go completely unnoticed by everyone in his boxing and music hall circles.
Okay, so if not death, what's theory number 2?
Theory 2 is that he simply ran away, decided to start over, change his name, but stayed somewhere in Britain.
Just abandon his wife and baby daughter.
It sounds harsh, doesn't it? There's a hint in a 1904 article. It suggests his career was cut short by the pewter mug and the fairer sex.
Ah, Victorian speak for drinking and women trouble.
Pretty much. Remember, he had Marianne and a 9-month-old baby. But he'd also been touring with music halls in 1891, traveling all over England.
So, could he have met someone else on tour? Decided to ditch his London life?
It's a possibility historians consider, giving up his career, his family, everything. But the big challenge with this theory is, how?
How could he stay hidden?
Exactly. This was a man who was a known public figure. He toured widely, his face was recognized in multiple cities, his disappearance was noted by his wife, by the police, presumably after her appeal. How do you remain completely incognito?
It seems almost impossible, especially for someone described as a colored champion. He would have stood out more in many places back then, surely.
You'd think so. It would require an incredible effort to just blend in and never be recognized by anyone from his past life.
Yeah.
It feels improbable for such a public person to just vanish within Britain without some trace surfacing eventually.
Okay, it does sound difficult. So that leads us to the third theory, the one that sounds a bit more dramatic.
Yes. Theory 3, he moved to New York.
Across the Atlantic. What points towards that?
This is where it gets really intriguing. Remember Marion's appeal in the sporting life in 1892? Well, 4 years later, in 1896, she places another notice.
Still looking for him.
Still looking. But this time, she's seeking information about a specific person, Frank Craig. She wants his address, any particulars relating to Ching Cook.
Frank Craig. Is that name significant?
It could be. While it's not unique, it is the name of a well-known black boxer and music hall performer. Crucially, he was from New York, moved to London around 1894, and knew people in Hezekiah's boxing circle.
So Marion thought this Frank Craig might know something. Years later.
It suggests she still believed there was some connection, maybe through the boxing world, possibly transatlantic, that could lead her to Hezekiah, or at least news of him. Remember, too, Hezekiah's 1891 census listed him as a traveler.
Ah, right. And we know he traveled extensively in England for work.
So the idea of him traveling further isn't such a stretch. And then there's the Ellis Island lead.
The immigration records in New York?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a record. And H. Moscow from London, listed as Heman Moscow, age 35, English nationality, arrived in New York in August 1892.
August 1892, so about 4 months after he disappeared, on a ship from Liverpool.
The RMS Umbria, yes. Departed end of July. The timing fits.
Okay, that sounds potentially huge. H. Moscow.
It does, doesn't it?
But
there are problems. Big discrepancies.
like the age. Wasn't Hezekiah younger?
Significantly. Based on the 1891 census, Hezekiah would have been 30 or 31 in 1892, not 35.
And English nationality. He was from the West Indies.
Right, though he had lived in London for a decade. And the occupation listed on the ship's manifest is, unfortunately, unreadable.
So Hyman Moscow, wrong age, wrong nationality.
But the name Moscow, for someone who isn't Jewish, it's incredibly unusual, highly distinctive. And importantly, researchers haven't found any matching Hyman Moscows in British records who fit that description or age.
So it's possible Hezekiah used a new first name, fudged his age and nationality to get into the U.S. under the radar.
It's the tantalizing question, isn't it? Did Hezekiah Moscow become Hyman Moscow to disappear across the ocean? It's the most compelling lead by far.
But still inconclusive, frustratingly so.
Utterly inconclusive, it leaves us right back where we started, in a way, with a powerful, unresolved mystery.
And regardless of where he went or if he started a new life, his absence had a devastating impact back home, didn't it? On Marian and Eliza.
A profound impact. Absolutely tragic. Marianne clearly struggled immensely. We see her listed as widow of Hezekiah in 1901.
Even though there was no proof he'd died.
Right. And then, sadly, we find her in the workhouse admission records in 1908.
The workhouse. That really tells you how desperate things must have been.
It does. Tower Hamlet's workhouse, December 1908. She was 49, admitted for a septic wrist. It just highlights the grim reality of poverty in healthcare, or lack thereof, in Whitechapel then. She was discharged in January 1909.
Did she keep working?
Yes, she continued as a tailor's dresser. And later, by 1911, she and Eliza were living as lodgers on Commercial Street, both working as office cleaner and caretaker. Her life was undeniably marked by hardship after he left.
And Eliza, the daughter born just before he vanished, what kind of life did she have?
Her life also reflects those tough circumstances. Born June 91, right? By 1895, age 4, she's admitted to George Yard School.
Which was a ragged school.
Yes, a charity school. Free basic education for destitute children. It really underscores the family's poverty after Hezekiah disappeared. She later went to St. Joseph's School.
And she ended up working with her mother.
By 1911, yes. Age 19, working alongside Marian as an office cleaner plus caretaker. Still lodging.
Did she ever marry? Have a family of her own?
She did marry, eventually, to a Henry F. Thompson, probably in her early 40s. She's recorded as Eliza M. Thompson in the 1939 register. But the sources couldn't find any evidence of children.
So Hezekiah's direct line, through Eliza at least, seems to have ended there.
It appears so. A quiet end to that branch of the story.
Wow. This deep dive into Hezekiah Moscow, it's been a journey through, well, fragments, clues, tantalizing hints, but no final answers.
It really has.
It's such a powerful reminder, isn't it? How hard it can be to piece together lives from the past, especially people who lived on the margins, or maybe deliberately erase their own tracks.
Absolutely. What Hezekiah's story really highlights for us as people looking back at history is that not every question gets a neat, tidy answer.
Right. Sometimes the history is the mystery.
Precisely. Sometimes the most compelling stories are the ones that stay open-ended. They force us to think about the limits of what we can know, the gaps in the records, and just the sheer unpredictability of individual lives. How easily someone could just vanish.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other stories like Hezekiah's are out there? Lost figures waiting in the archives, maybe just needing someone to look closely at those few surviving clues. And what does that tell us about how we even write history?